iPhone 17 versus iPhone 17 Pro versus iPhone 17 Pro Max versus iPhone Air. After 30 days, which one should you buy? And this is coming from somebody who has owned all of these phones and experienced all of them. I'm going to share with you my honest buyer's guide advice here in this video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's begin by talking about the Apple iPhone 17. Now this is coming in as one of the best, if not the best, base model iPhones ever created here, kind of giving you similar to that of an iPhone 17 Pro, but just having one less camera. Really, that is the real thing here with this one, is that it just gives you a little bit less when it comes to the cameras. But overall, for a lot of people, this does seem like the sweet spot. Let me go ahead and unlock this thing really quickly. It definitely seems like it is the sweet spot here this year. Having the ProMotion display has really made this over the past month feel similar to that of an iPhone 16 Pro, maybe even a 15 Pro. I do have to state, though, that the dynamic island still looks the same as previous, but having the thinner bezels has been a dream for the base model. Also, this green color, the sage, is very beautiful. We do have the mist blue options as well. But really, it's that front-facing camera as well that gives you a nice jump here and giving you that ultra-wide, almost dropped it right there, giving you that ultra-wide front angle. Definitely very, very nice here on the iPhone 17. Also, its battery life is very, very acceptable. It's nothing like the Pro Max, but its battery life overall is very, very acceptable. So I find this to be the best option for those of you who really wanted like something of a Pro iPhone for the longest time, but you were never quite able to get your hands on a Pro, or you just didn't really want to pay the price for it. The iPhone 17 has just been incredible, and it should be your top option. Now, you would get 8 gigabytes of RAM if you go with this phone. You're also going to sacrifice the telephoto camera. In addition to that, you do have like a lesser, you could say the less premium look. Some people will actually say the Pros don't look that premium, but honestly, it is a pretty strong offering here, and one that I think even people at previous Pros could go with and be pretty darn happy with that. Let's go on and talk about the iPhone 17 Pro now, and who should buy this. Now, I've had the iPhone 17 Pro also since launch day, and honestly, this year, this one is not quite to me as valuable as last year's 16 Pro. Reason why is, while it does have more storage, hold on, let me do a Face ID right here. While it does have more storage, the iPhone 17 Pro actually costs more than before, so it's actually close in price to the 17 Pro Max. And for that, I do prefer the 17 Pro Max because it has better battery life at only $100 more. However, those of you who still want an all-around nice camera experience, you want good battery life, and you also want that Pro design, the 17 Pro should be high on your list. It basically is the smaller version of the Max, and its battery life is insanely good for, you know, the size that this phone is. But I will state that this phone is definitely not touching the 17 Pro Max in battery life. Where it is touching it and is the same exactly is in the camera. You can go all the way up to 8 times right there, and you could digitally zoom all the way up to 40x. So you get quite a bit of that. You also get good video quality, actually really good video quality. But again, bigger screen on the Pro Max would make me want to choose that for video, just because that bigger screen on the Pro Max definitely does give us a little bit better framing of these videos. But this does have the same center stage camera like the iPhone 17. And really, this is for those of you who want a little bit more than what the base model offers. And it's a pretty solid option. Again, though, I do have to state that I feel that the 17 Pro Max is probably the better overall option, just because it's a little bit more and gives you better battery life. Let's go ahead and talk about iPhone 17 Pro Max now. All right, so the 17 Pro Max, this is my main phone here, and I pretty much really enjoyed. I've actually switched to the iPhone 17 Pro Max as my daily phone here, and I definitely have really enjoyed a few aspects about it. The anti-reflective coating that is both on the 17 Pro and Pro Max have been excellent. The super long battery life has been superb. This phone lasting 2 days easily. Heavy use, it's 1 day. A heavy user is always going to drop that right there. But the iPhone 17 Pro Max has felt pretty smooth on the edges, and while still hefty, that hefty is a good trade-off because you get the long battery life. So that's really great. Also, the cameras are very consistent across the board. Triple 48 megapixel cameras across the board. In addition to that, the front facing is ultra wide angle, so that's also pretty darn good, just like the other ones. And I really can't find too much faults with this other than the fact that it still looks kind of the same on the front as the iPhone 16 Pro Max, so the average user wouldn't be able to tell a difference, mostly because it's still a 6.9 and still has the same dynamic island. But it's super smooth. It's basically everything you would want in a Max phone, but some people don't really prefer the two-tone design. That's only some though. Some do enjoy it, and I do think they're going to stick with this, mostly because the heat dissipation has been really good on both the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. So if you are looking for top tier performers and phones that kind of do it all while also not getting too toasty in the hand while providing great battery life, go with these two. Just skip these two on the outer edges here altogether. You won't regret it. The iPhone 17 Pro is a little beast in your pocket, but it's weighty and it's costly for the size. So it's a little bit less value to me. The 17 Pro Max is the absolute beast of the lineup this year, and definitely the one I think most people want. It's always the one that's the hardest to get, and it's not always in the color configuration you always want. Let's talk about the Air now. And lastly, let me go ahead and cover the iPhone Air. You can see I do have a little bit of a ring around from my case on the MagSafe, but to me, this is probably one of the most beautiful feeling iPhones I've ever felt in the hand. It's super thin. It's super light. However, that inclusion of just one camera over here, I think people found to be a big sacrifice for the Air and something they're not willing to do. I don't think that's the main thing. I think the main thing is that people know that the battery life in there is not going to be as good as some of the other iPhones, and that is true. But what you got to know is that this actually still is able to last a full day on a charge. So it's actually doing better than you might have predicted. iPhone Air being the least popular this year, you can basically find this thing everywhere in pretty much any configuration, color, storage size that you would want on the iPhone Air. In addition, the iPhone Air does have something pretty innovative. They put pretty much all the components right up there in that plateau. However, also, if you're used to like an iPhone XS Max, 11 Pro Max, 6.5, you thought that was a sweet spot size and you didn't ever like the 6.7 or the 6.9, the iPhone Air should definitely be up your alley. It's definitely going to be pretty good. It's also the only iPhone this year that retains a titanium design, and it's kind of crazy how they stuffed the buttons into these very, very thin rails. So it's definitely pretty much a looker, but I feel like it's one of those things people will look at and then they'll be like, yeah, just give me the Max though. Like they'll be impressed when they see it and hold it, but then they're just going to be like, give me the 17 Pro, give me the Max, and they're going to leave without the iPhone Air. And that's pretty evident. You can go on any basic website and you're going to see that the iPhone Air is pretty much available everywhere. So let's wrap it up here. Which one to buy going into this holiday season? Well, if you're looking for a gift, you're looking to give this to somebody as a gift, go with the 17. You cannot be, you're not going to be disappointed with this. You're not going to go wrong with this because there's just pretty much no disadvantages. It has a great bright screen. It also does have, really, really strong battery life, dual speakers on board. It does have the action button, camera control. It's pretty much that classic iPhone feel you're kind of used to over the past few years, and it has pretty good colors this year, so it's not a disappointment. The person who should definitely think about this 17 Pro is literally somebody who loves the Max, but they just can't get down with the size, and those people are really willing to pay for the 17 Pro, and you won't be disappointed. Triple 48 megapixel keeps this thing as consistent as the 17 Pro Max. It has similarly fast charging. The phone also does feel equally smooth and also easier to one hand, so it's more of a beast in the pocket. It also does have the camera control button, beautiful bright display. It is a little bit heftier and costlier than before, but you know who you are with that one. So wrapping it up with the 17 Pro Max, definitely the beast power user phone. Let me go ahead and lock this real quick. The gaming experience, the benchmarks, the camera, the battery, the cool feeling even when playing graphically demanding games, the size, the smoothness around the edges, the weight just feeling premium. Yes, it is aluminum, not quite as good as titanium. I get that fact, but I like that it functions better when it comes to dissipating heat. Overall, you know, if you are the person who wants to go all out, of course it's the Max. And a month later, I do feel like it's actually the second best value in the lineup next to the 17, simply because of what I talked about with the regular Pro getting to be a little bit high, and then the Air just not having just way too many sacrifices overall. And then the Air is definitely for a niche crowd. It's for people who are willing to make those sacrifices because they want something super thin. And I've been seeing this thing, people have been saying, you know, the iPhone Air, while it might be super thin, it is also very unique. And once you use this, you can't go back. I don't find that true. I use this and I still go back to the 17 Pro Max, mostly for the battery life. But I do have to agree with the statement that it is unique. It definitely feels different. For me, it didn't feel quite as special because I already had the Galaxy S25 Edge, which came out first. But I get it for Apple users. It's definitely rather a special phone. And I think it will get better as they introduce a second camera, maybe even better battery life. When the sacrifices become less, I think many more people would jump on the Air. And this also could just serve as maybe an introduction to see how they can produce a foldable iPhone. It could be that as well. So that's it for me on the iPhone 17 versus 17 Pro versus Air 2025 holiday buying guide lineup. This video should help you decide which one to get overall. Now, I do understand I didn't talk about specifications and all that. That wasn't my intent with this video. I wanted to give more of a general take on the matter from, you know, a regular user perspective. And I kind of feel like we hit most of the points. Now, what I want to hear from you down below in the comments is which one do you find most exciting and why? And if you found the video helpful, thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the very next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.